We are the Liberty Intelligence Organization Network. And I'd like to welcome everyone to our news recap show. If you've been following us, welcome back. If this is the first video you're watching from us, I encourage you to go back and watch us in order through the duration, because it will steadily bring you up to date with how massive this organization that we're covering here, really trying to get people informed about, because it is so large. It's really hard to comprehend how massive this criminal organization that calls itself the New World Order really is. So let me move on here. If you've been following us, we're talking about propaganda in this broadcast, and went over a bunch of stuff. But I want to switch gears, sort of, and now I want to talk about, I mentioned the New World Order is this gigantic organization. It's really big. It has different branches and different parts of the world. The New World Order is different things to different people in different parts of the world. That's a quote from Henry Kissinger, one of the main public faces of the New World Order. He's been a presidential advisor to every president, I think, since Jimmy Carter, maybe even before then, but I know at least since Jimmy Carter, and he actually, probably all the way back to the 50s. But anyway, I'm getting off topic here. What I want to talk about is the different branches of the New World Order, namely the military branch of the New World Order, the military police state branch of the New World Order, which happens to be centered primarily in the United States of America. It uses the United States Army, one of the most advanced, powerful military organizations in the world. It uses that as its projected military power around the world, and it uses it in combination with intelligence agencies and all these other organizations to funnel weapons or to control certain organizations around the world, certain terrorist organizations, drug cartels, these types of other criminal enterprises. They use, they're the kingpins of the criminals, the New World Order. So of course they use their fist to control all the other criminals and get them to do what they want, and then they also use it to just crush the good people and to confuse the naive. But basically, I just wanted to mention that because I sort of have to go after my own country a lot here, but that's because we are the United States of America is the military branch of the New World Order. They use us. We're really the central hub of a lot of their stuff at this moment. But there's really all sorts of different branches. Like I think their headquarters is really on the British Isles in some compound in northern Scotland that nobody knows about really, but everyone knows about it at the same time. Just like the New World Order is not real, but it is real and it's coming for you. It's double speak, it's double think. They get you to think illogic is logic by saying stuff like that. But anyway, so I'm going to link to I remember when I was taking history, that was my major, and I studied a lot of it. In one of my history classes, we were talking about what the United States intelligence organizations have been up to since the 1930s, namely in Latin America, but also in the Caribbean, and in Africa, and in modern times, the Middle East. What they do is they fund terrorist organizations, or they fund drug cartels, or they fund certain individuals that they would like to see dominate said area in order to allow the New World Order to claim their state in this area and get their foothold and eventually total control. So I'm going to link to some stuff, but mainly it's about Batista in Cuba, but it also happened in Guatemala, it happened in Chile, it happened in Peru, it happened in a lot of Latin American countries in the past. And today we're witnessing it happen in the Middle East. It's happening in Iraq, it's happening in Afghanistan, happening in Egypt, Libya, Syria, Yemen, all of them except Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia is the New World Order foothold in the Middle East. They're the country that's sworn on to the New World Order in that particular region. Israel is also another sworn in to the New World Order nation. But it started in the 1930s, it continued up through World War II, and then it continued in the Cold War, and in the Cold War it was all focused on stopping communism. Back then it was focused on nation building. We're nation building these places. In the Cold War it became we're stopping communism from taking over these places. It happened in Vietnam, Afghanistan, Korea, and Eastern Europe during those years until the very end of the 90s. And then afterwards, immediately afterwards, in the 90s, they started using terrorism as an excuse to go in. You know, first they fund a terrorist group. The terrorist group does a bunch of bad stuff. Then they say, oh, there's terrorists there. We have to stop them. And then they send in the military to take control for the New World Order. That's the game plan for global domination. Let me do a time check. So basically, you know, I'm pretty much done with what I want to talk about. You know, today, terrorism, you know, as I mentioned, and it's been used in many places. If you want me to list some examples, you can just look at through past history. It's all in the newspapers. It's pretty understandable. You really just talk to somebody who's like 26 and up, and they'll tell you about some of this stuff. You know, the wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Egypt, most recent since the 21st century started, but then there was the Balkans back in the 20th century, and really Iraq was back in the 20th century too, the start of it all. But you know, Syria, Jordan, Yemen, like I mentioned, these are the countries that they still have to take full control of, so that there will be no opposition to the New World Order when they really start bringing it down hard. And I mean, it's an incremental thing, so it's hard to really see, but if you look through history and watch it grow steadily, you see it incrementally increase. It always gets a little worse, a little worse, a little worse, a little worse. But like I mentioned, they kicked it into warp speed, so they're just going to try to sweep it in here real quick. And the main reason is, I was talking to somebody about this stuff. They're partial zombies. They're not entirely zombified, but they're partially zombie. And I think it's out of fear, really, that their understanding of the world could be crushed, and then they wouldn't know what to believe anymore. But you have to believe truth and understand it. When you hear truth, you know it. And the only thing that will stop you from knowing it is propaganda used to zombify you. And really, they like to just get you normalized to stuff, so they'll tell you stuff in advance before it happens, before it's going to go on. They'll sort of like drop it in television, or they'll drop it in media, or they'll make some sort of suggestive remarks about this is the way it's going to be. Just to normalize it in the subconscious mind, so that you don't really freak out when you start seeing it in the real world, because you've already seen it in a fictional world, in a television show, in a movie, in a video game, or read about it in a book. You've been mentally normalized to this way of seeing the world. It's all about manipulation of the mind. I'm actually going to link to a great Alex Jones interview with David Icke that was done this Friday, where David Icke, who is very knowledgeable about the New World Order and really the darker arts behind it, that we'll be getting into in later broadcasts. But he really breaks it down that this is really all about love and trying to make people understand the truth, so that craziness doesn't have to. We're trying to avoid a violent outcome. The New World Order wants a violent outcome. They want death. They want destruction. They want dismay. They want chaos, so that they can step forward and say, "We'll stop this." They want that. But with truth and knowledge and a real global awakening, we can just, beat them with knowledge. They'll cower in fear and hide in the shadows if the world wakes up. If we as humanity understand our responsibility for our individual lives and stop living in a fabricated, made-up, false safety net that they're controlling and can destroy at any moment to cripple us. Another time check. Yeah, so, camera almost fell. But yeah, basically, that's what it's all about, and I'll try to link to that. Again, if you're wondering, it was the Doomsday. It was on December 21st, 2012, the Alex Jones Show. Go check it out for the great interview with David Icke. I actually just watched it today because I didn't get a chance to listen live on Friday. But whenever I get to do some artwork, I'll always try to watch what I missed out on, and I was doing some artwork earlier today, and I was able to listen to this great interview. That being said, I'm running out of time, so I guess that's going to be it for this section of the broadcast. We're going to be getting into some stuff about UN and NATO coming up, and really talking about rights and liberties in the next segment here. So thanks for tuning in. I want to remind everyone, as always, to stay safe, to stay strong, to stay free, and to stay informed.